So first of all, thank you for joining us tonight at the MOAD Open Mic. My name is Nia McAllister, and I'm the Visitor Experience Manager at the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. And so as we gather here tonight, it's essential that we acknowledge the time that we're living in. MOAD stands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, as there are multiple pandemics killing us, including the ongoing systemic violence against Black people. We honor and mourn the senseless murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, and so many others who have lost their lives at the hands of police brutality and racial injustice, including those names that we do not know. We also acknowledge and wish resilience upon Jacob Blake, who remarkably, in spite of nearly being killed by 7 targeted police bullets in an ongoing act of white supremacist terror exacted by the state, has survived. I also want to acknowledge the spaces that we're occupying. And though we're gathering here tonight virtually, many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. And our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples whose lands we are located on. It is with deep respect that MOAD acknowledges that even in a virtual space, our people, our work, and our network servers are all on native lands. And so we thank the indigenous people of the Bay Area who have stewarded this land throughout many generations. And so this is just to kind of contextualize the space that we're gathering in and acknowledge that all of our feelings right now that we're experiencing are valid, our grief, our anger, our exhaustion, and that this is a space to both seek comfort and joy in each other's company. And so all are welcome in this space, but it's also of the utmost importance that we center and respect and continue to amplify Black voices. And I've found that hosting these events has been so healing to find community through art. So for those of you who are new tonight or those who are returning, I ask that throughout the evening, that you please keep your microphones on mute if you are not the person speaking. However, because open mics are inherently very interactive, and we want to support each other, I do encourage you to both use the chat or give air claps and snaps as people are reading so that we can affirm each other's work. I think it's really important to be able to respond and support each other, though we're in this virtual space. And so just for the overview of the logistics tonight, I'm about to post the lineup in the chat. So we're gonna start the evening with half of our open mic readers, and then I'll be introducing our feature for tonight. And then we'll close out the evening with the remaining open mic readers. And I'm so excited to have Maud Alcorn being our feature for this evening, an incredible poet and MC and just a force in the Bay Area. So it's gonna be a really wonderful treat this evening. The other logistics is that all readers will have 4 minutes. Please respect everyone's time in this space and keep within that time. If by chance a reader joins late and you weren't in the original, if you don't hear him called, just message me individually for those of you who are included in the original lineup that I emailed this afternoon. And before we jump into it, I'd also like to thank Art Bridges for their generous support to help continue our wonderful programming here at MOAD. And so with that, I'm going to post the lineup and introduce our first reader for tonight, Rachel Heath. Welcome.
Thanks, Nia. It's so great to be here reading with you all. So I'm actually going to read something new tonight, since this space feels welcoming to do that. It's called A Tour of My Abandoned Suitcase, and I wrote it in a workshop with Cheryl Boyce Taylor. Dark jeans that have yet to lose the depth of indigo lie abandoned from lack of wear. No cold here. A long piece of white gauze fabric waits to wrap my hair for ceremonies to the gods, to the sea, to the breath that will not happen now that the air has gone rogue. Blank cards from Australia festooned with colorful paper birds were meant to be sent to aunties with wrinkled hands whose hearts remember me when and miss the sight of me. A white net bag containing a game of Farkle that my niece and nephew insist on playing each time I am able to visit them, holds orange dice stained with the memories of their laughter and celebrations each time they won a round. A black felt bag dots color in the darkness, holding a pair of large dream catchers in the colors of sky, made in a studio apartment overlooking the sea in Isla Mujeres, where I called home, and still do when I remember what it feels like to be embraced by the warmth of a fresh tortilla and chiles de habanero. A two-piece bathing suit in royal blue with palm leaves and pink flowers hides unused, holding memories of a summer with soul friends, where the ocean could not forget the thickness of our thighs and hair as we became waves and sun-kissed. A party dress made from fabric I bought moons ago in my undergrad days peeks out from the side, the background white with a pattern of people that reminded me of the tales of the Arabian Nights, my favorite stories to hide in when I could not escape the four walls of no money and no time. My dear Mexican mama fashioned it into a dress to wear for my 40th circle around the sun. I added the ruffles and wore it to smile at beloved faces on a screen while trying to pretend like it really was okay to hold space this way. A chapbook of self-published poems remembers my 20s better than I do, the words on the pages causing future me to cringe at their audacity and freedom. A book of Lorca poems takes me to his summer home, tucked in a garden in Granada. No pictures allowed, so I must remember the look of his room, the feel of his desk under my fingers, the keys of the piano, the kitsch of the kitchen, and the faces that stared at me from the paintings in the salon. Compression socks that kept pain at bay on long flights from Spain to Malaysia, Malaysia to Australia, Australia to the US to Mexico, Mexico to Costa Rica, now lie crumpled and wondering if my legs are okay. The thick gray straps of a suitcase scale wait to tell me how much I will carry with me once this pandemic is over and the skies open up again for me to take flight.
Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that new piece. Next up to the open mic, we have Kisei Natsuki. Welcome back.
Hi, Nia. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone for sharing this community with me. I don't normally do preludes to anything I read, but I will for the first poem, and I'm dedicating both of them to my youngest child. The first poem is a conversation, you could say, between two people, one white, one black. So hopefully it will be clear as I read it. The title is Submerged. In my skin, covering this frame I relax in, whisper in its warm body, languish in the sensory encounters it meets through its touch, touched upon, touched by, the sounds of discordant echoing, rhythmic in its symphonic hate, a fury, disdain, identification traveling through air to me. Gleaming eyes, twinkling with laughter at their corners, creased in concordance with smiling cheeks, barely revealing teeth as you people introduces the sentences before the orchestral finale that plays in concert with relaxed shoulders, sunken deepened chest, and crossed legs or arms of start young, smoke weed, have kids by multiple men, as prelude to, so how many fathers are there? Baboon, you work hard for a black person. You are pretty for a black woman. Move. Move, your hair is in my way, means move, go back to your country. Go back to where I can't see you, where you don't remind me of where my sneakers are made, how I hate myself for the prison of the legacy I want and silently rage against. Move away. I need you to give my heart to, my pain, my sorrow in gifts where you say thank you. I reject you, trembling as I reject me, shuddering at truths I cannot unknow, thoughts I hide that I cannot unthink, feelings I confuse with my own languishing, human languishing, of pains from my fathers, pains from my mother, secrets, silences, buried unsuccessfully. My body's pain knows I am human, knows you are human. Your upright walk, unwavering stare, steady words in one sentence after another that doesn't crack, reminds me of that which I wish to hide from. You are human, and I am pained by the rumbling of hide and seek I feel within my skin, having conversation with the love and hate, despair and grief, loss and pain and joy, in my own memories of histories, relationships, desires. Where art thou now? I am trapped, imprisoned. Here, I say, I am here, feeling your fury, sleeping with your pain impressed upon mine, as I seek home, my home, slipping away with your stories in print, imprinting erasure. I am here, I say, seeking home, trembling in a fury of loving me, shuddering in silent sorrow, tasting, seeing, feeling, cold, sweet, hot, sour, melodies of my own desires, as I remain thirsty, seeking home. The second one I just wrote last night while eating dinner, so it might need some more editing. It starts, so it has no title. The red rose turned burgundy looks away from me, showcasing its pale green and spotted brown wilting leaves and stalk, hovering above lighted wick in oil, like my grandmother's kerosene lamp on dark nights approach. The light, in indigo to ashore, masking as black midnight darkness, saying hello to the only other light of the moon. This light, fed by oil sands not close to this crepe myrtle pink lined parade of crisscross streets, housing white linen tables and wooden chairs, one border holding my frame adjacent to black plantation shutters. My white grieved pooeyed heart turned pale pink in love, looks to you, Grandma, on these large bricked concrete streets flanked with black umbrellas, showcasing your mother's journey and now mine, knowing our footsteps across time, plantations and seas, horse-drawn carriages and long walks in sugarcane fields, back of the yards and pitch roads.
Due to different pastors.
Hello?
Oh.
I heard some other talking. Back of the yards and pitch roads, islands and continents under a looking moon. Lighted wick flickering as lantern on my way. Oil. Ocean's rocks move to our hands across time, resisting darkness. Inside, we look out. Shutters backdrop to glass windows, letting the light in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing both of those pieces, and especially that new one too. I know there's vulnerability in sharing something very new, so thank you. Next up, we have Lorraine Bonner. Welcome, Lorraine.
Okay, hi, thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. I was having trouble with the internet, but here I am. I have some pieces that are not exactly poems, but they're little 100-word pieces that I wrote a while ago. so I'd like to read them. The first one is called lichen, as in the stuff that grows on rocks. What if we could see back billions of years to the beginning of life on Earth? What if we could see the first attempts at multicellularity? Would it look like us? Would there be power struggles, domination, some critter's excretion being poison to their fellow critter? At what point would they begin to get it right? Coral, lichen, chloroplast taking up residence in a proper cell, mitochondria passed from your mother to every cell of your body. The quiet collaboration of our liver and kidneys and heart and skin and brain. What if we could see the beginning of human society? Would it look like us? So that's one. This is, I don't think this actually has a name. What if the consciousness of the ancient ferns and dinosaur remains has been resting in peace among the sandstone and shale for hundreds of millions of years? Can you imagine the shock of that deep meditation, penetrated by drills, shattered by steam? What if distillation is to petroleum what trauma is to humans? A dissociative rending of consciousness, a bewildering loss of self, of connection. What of the profound shame to be reduced to a toothbrush, a water bottle, a zip tie binding a prisoner's wrist, to be found in the stomach of a whale dead from starvation, to be implicated in its extinction? And the third one is called Golden Rule. What if the Golden Rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, was originally a felt, visceral reality? What if it is a virtually universal religious, spiritual, and ethical principle? Because originally people could feel what other people felt. What if there are mirror neurons, not just for vision or hearing, but also for felt senses, pain, joy, alarm? And what if this kind of sensing was made possible by a complex neurologic system directed by DNA on multiple copies of genes, multiple places for variation, mistake, mutations? What if sociopaths are as unable to sense another's feelings as a colorblind person is to distinguish red from green? Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you. You have a really nice way of kind of depicting nature and the environment in your poems, and I love that.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome up next, Uniqua Simmons. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you so much for this platform. So I'm going to be reading some excerpts of A Poet Diversified. This first piece is celebrating anyone who is overcoming any addictions and celebration for those in sobriety and those who will be in sobriety. Tripping, kicking. I'm tripping, I'm kicking, I'm tripping, I'm kicking. I'm tripping, I'm kicking, I'm tripping, I'm kicking. My soul's searching, but it's still ripping. What's that? Take it to the max, unlimited stacks, no need to react. But I'm still tripping and I'm still kicking. I'm tripping and I'm kicking. I'm tripping. I kicked it. Now I'm living. So this next piece, when words are not enough, communication. We speak through words, we speak through movement. This piece is usually done with movement. When words are not enough, how do we communicate? When words are not enough, how do we speak? How do we say? When words are not enough, we play, 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 play. we stay and we slay. When words are not enough, how do you communicate? Excuse me as I express without words, moving through visions like you heard. Movement speaks. When movement is not there, we reach. When words are not enough, how do we communicate? How do we stay? This next excerpt and the last one is celebrating who we are as in diversity, how we're all born, our similarities, and who we are and what we bring to this world. We were born not running, not chasing. We are there in the womb for the placing. In the womb, we are vibing and feeling. We were born not running, not chasing. Diversity. Don't leave home without it. And that's it. Thank you so much for this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those pieces. It was great to have you. And like many people were saying in the chat, I also enjoyed all the repetition and the cadence of your reading. That was wonderful. Next up, we have Stacy Montez. Welcome, Stacy. Stacy, are you here with us? I thought I just saw her name.
Sorry.
There we are.
Talking and then didn't realize. Okay. Hi, good evening.
Welcome.
Nia, thank you. I'm going to share with you 2 poems that I wrote, and then I'm going to end with a series of haikus. The first poem is entitled Sister Moon Rising. Listen with your eyes, see with your ears, speak with a sweet observation. Quiet your mind to create deliberate focus, manifestation. Then deposit some grit to gestate within your creative chambers. Accessorize a response with a measured thinking and watch grace speak loudly. To swollen spirits and stagnant and stifled, troubled, asking divine love to deliver it from an evil that paralyzes. Who is reflecting peace, love, joy, beauty's brilliance to you, my sister? Behold, something new has bubbled up and welcomed the solar bright light, a beautiful soul on this longest day of night, illuminating. My second poem is Laughing While Black. I am guilty. I laugh loud. I'm a woman who graciously and proudly identifies as a daughter of the African diaspora in America. I'm guilty. I laugh loud when I'm in the company of another like-minded people sharing a similar experience to freeze a moment in time for future memories. I'm guilty. I laugh loud, particularly upon enjoying the distinct flavors of grapes warmed in the sun, crushed and infused with hints of blackberries, dark cherries, cinnamon, and pomegranate, bottled and stored for my consumption and my enjoyment. I'm guilty. I laugh loud without the aforementioned assistance of liquefied grapes, distilled corn, or frozen potato juice. I'm guilty. I laugh loud and I encourage my seeds to do the same, for laughter balances a life that is daily challenged for simply being. I'm guilty. I laugh loud, I love hard, I learn easy, and live unapologetically. And I wrote that poem after hearing about the birthday party Napa trip, and I had just experienced one myself, so it was very, very near and dear. I'm now going to give you a series of haikus, and the last one that I've done, I wrote yesterday. Shelter in place, sip a cup of hot ginger tea as I scream, plot twist. Urban girl in a rural world navigating muddy, unpaved paths. Sunrise over hills alerts a rooster's call to begin the day. Observing nature was still a New York minute into a slow crawl. A spider's silk thread can withstand 70 miles per hour strong winds. Ants are persistent when the ground is scorching hot or soaked in water. The dragonfly whizzed, the hummingbird zipped as I watered the fig tree. Orange sunsets against a lavender sky yields peace for all to witness. Peregrine moon lights a delta night sky as the crickets serenade. And again, this is my last haiku that I wrote yesterday. Luscious park land is charred beyond recognition. Ashes fall like snow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Stacy, for all of those pieces, and it's wonderful hearing them in your voice. You have a wonderful cadence as well. And that last piece is highly relevant for those of us in the Bay, in California, and the West Coast, all experiencing these fires. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite Christopher D. Sims. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, peace, everybody. Shalom, all that good stuff. It's good to be back. It's been a while. So I'm going to share two poems. I think that'll eat up my 4 minutes that are very similar to one another in regards to length and or delivery. So the first one I have set them in there. When I become fused, settled into your wordplay, the most beautiful things serenade my soul. I feel like an innocent child, gleefully discovering the certainties of living carefree. Automatically, I want to cuddle in your grammatical chemistry and let it comfort, caress, consume, and console me. I want to lay next to your devastating diction and let it breathe softly on my neck and whisper sweet things and smile about it in my dreams. I want to smile when I hear your spoken word harmony, charming me and disarming the strength I possess, and let each and every word baptize my being and cleanse my soul like water. Because your words are wind-soft aloft the clouds, sweet, genuine amidst the sunshine, clever daffodils that cast spells at will. And through them, I see the science of hieroglyphics, discover all ancient mysteries, learn of all things important and intricate. Make love to my mind, you word warrior, syllable soldier, lyrical enforcer. Transform me with traditional griotic telepathy. Feed me the vital, venomous vocabulary that I need to proceed. And that's that first piece. This next one is, she packs me in her luggage. I'm familiar to her, safe, warm, gentle, and understanding. A voice calming, a wise soul who listens beyond what is shared on the surface. I am a warm blanket in her coldest nights. I am a hot cup of green tea in the times where she feels most sad and vulnerable. So she packs me in her luggage when she travels, poems of mine that define her life and help her get through things, or pieces of my literature that make her smile and inspire her to dream. She loves Sacred Woman. She packs that poem in her luggage when they're more than any other poem of mine. She's empowered by that poem. It describes to her just how sacred she is, how important she is, how beautiful she is. I am a poet. I met her at a bookstore. It was one of her all-time favorites. She dreams too of meeting her soulmate in a bookstore inside a cafe while jazz is playing lightly. She's romantic just the same, so she called up my name when she hears that poem, saying, yeah, universal love, yeah, man. Found on knotted napkins and college rule paper consistently in her purple suitcases. She likes poetry. She approached me personally after poetry reading and told me the poem was genius, that it captures her love for poetry and why she is held captive by the pictures I paint in that poem. She will even come to a poetry reading just to hear that poem. She leaves right after I'm done with a huge smile on her face. She has her own version of I Am a Poet. She wrote it on a plane heading back from Toronto, Canada, where she first heard me recite my version. Hers rocks. It is just as much hip hop and bebop as mine is, composed of the strongest visuals and prophetic lines. I like her version better. She sent it to me as an attachment in an email. Man, inspired poems are the best. She packs me in her luggage, especially my slam poem, Word Warrior. She's in love with the word, syllable, source of word. She's magnetized with the lines the lines that I speak from my mind that flow that with a poetic rhyme. She requested time after time after time. And she's an old woman and she's all the frequent flyer miles compiled in an old dresser will be a book she put together for me. Some will find it and read it at a funeral. And I will live on for eternity because she chose it. She found it in her heart to love my poetry. And that's my time. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Christopher. It's great to hear you back on the mic. So next up, I would like to invite Allie Jones up to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. Full disclosure, I thought I was signing up for the participate to be present in the open mic, and I ended up on the list. So I'm with it. I'm gonna roll with it. Everyone has been amazing. So this piece is called Sirène Uprising, and Sirène is a fusion of the word mermaid and the word queen in French. So here we go. I don't want to remember my life before mermaids. I was raised by saltwater queens, blessed by magical beings of mythic proportions, daughters of Yemeya and Gumbo, those who remind me of the beautiful resilience that lives within us, goddesses who maintain the grace of a gazelle, even with the changing tides. Mes sirènes, my mermaid queens, flowing, crashing, rising. My Mertopia is founded in unfiltered joy and Black girl magic, a land where power is found within and not by intimidation, a place where Black bodies are loved and appreciated, not demonized or sexualized, where unconditional love is currency and joy literally recharges us. A society where the only economics we talk about are cooperative. Our national anthem is Golden by Jill Scott. Declaring our divinity and having opportunities to express that, justice is restorative, equitable, and locally sourced. My grandma Genevieve, cayenne pepper royalty, celestial matriarch, soft yet steady as a metronome in the kitchen with a laugh that could brighten any dim room. Unafraid of what is to come because her certainty is founded in the love for herself and her family. Learning something new with each choice, her setbacks became the greatest comebacks. Flowing through the roughest currents and remaining strong. Flowing, crashing, rising. I'm dreaming of a nation that honors artists, teachers, and farmers like doctors, lawyers, or engineers. Angela Davis is Prime Minister. We are fully aware of our responsibility to look out for each other, honoring the scars of our ancestors, healing generational trauma, twerking for Mother Earth and planting seeds of resilience. Mother Teresa, calming like rosemary and gentle as gardenias, this earth warrior taught me to respect and protect the earth, to value all life forms, holding space for her softness and ours, unconditionally magical, concocting potions that transform the flu into a slight sniffle, or choosing the perfect bedtime story to read. She grew in the midst of adversity, never allowing fear to stop her pursuit, crashing against every judgment or expectation with determination, flowing, crashing, rising. I learned to laugh past trauma, to rise above pain and silence anything that wasn't a smile. While being inspired to be courageous and unapologetically me, I was taught to wipe away the tears and ignore the triggers, trauma, grief, and anxiety. Those words were foreign, more than quelque chose dans ma vie. I didn't feel comfortable talking about what was going on with me until it was too late. We don't talk about mental illness or wellness. We learn to put on masks. We have to destigmatize this conversation about mental health. My aquatic angels, on this earth and in my heart. Sister friends who keep me sane when all I thought I could ever be was crazy. Cousins who remind me I could do anything I set my mind to. Mentors who inspire me to love every aspect of myself, even the parts I don't always like. Sisters that challenge me to seek softness in times of pain and trauma, to look at myself in a mirror untarnished by self-loathing, beings of love, light, and strength. In awe of the mermaids in my life, who navigated uncharted waters, I watched my warriors effortlessly learn to breathe underwater while I was drowning, flowing, crashing, rising. Macy Glenn showed me that it takes a great amount of courage to be vulnerable. That vulnerability is loving with your heart wide open, guided by guided by our gut feelings and our star signs, ruled by our hearts and minds, flowing, crashing, rising. Rêveurs, croyants, amants et guerriers. Dreamers, believers, lovers, and warriors, rising above black holes of doubt, insecurity, and fear, flowing, crashing, rising. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali, for that beautiful poem, and the repetition. Again, it feels like your words came in waves, which was absolutely beautiful. And thank you for rising to the occasion, even though you planned to just sign up to listen. I'm so glad you read. So I'm going to share a few poems and then introduce our wonderful feature for this evening. So I have three poems to share tonight. The first of which I wrote a while ago, but I'm putting it into this new context as essentially a prayer for rain when we need it now. Under heavy skies ripe with cold showers, our brown hands dip fabric, white cotton and silks, reborn indigo. Indigo like the patches of sky between overhanging gray clouds. The air is hot, muggy, and the ground below us sweats. The breeze carries its perspiration, stinking of compost, wet concrete, and young rain. Raindrops collect on brown skin, nails and cuticles turn blue, playing at waterlogged skin. The storm holds us tight, loving us when we need it most, embracing us when the rest of the world will not. And this next piece is ever relevant as well. It's entitled Blackwell Walking, and it's a dedication to Nia Wilson. The road's so dark, you can barely see them. Hands up in surrender. Silhouette hugged tight to the concrete. So you can't separate skin from sidewalk. It's ironic though, because dead men don't walk. Which begs the question, who gets to walk alone at night? We already know Black hands are a crime of possession, but possession becomes prize, becomes prey when they see hips before hands. See, these curves are too fine to be called a four-way stop. And we all know no stop ain't in their vocabulary. Nobody comes running to save Black girls. We just left to carry the world's problems and pick up our own selves after. I'm fine on my own, but maybe I don't be so. So my hands stay wrapped around the sharp edge of my keys, because what's the value in locked doors when there's nobody home to open them? Home is but a feeling, and somebody's home away from home is now a chalk outline on the corner of liberty and justice. Because this is America, land of the free. And I will close with one last piece from the archives. I had to kind of dig in the archives to find some pieces that I haven't shared recently. This one doesn't have a title, but here we go. I am made of ships sailed, railroads built for running, from people who work the land and the water, those who temper the tide and sow seeds and seams. See, we are patchwork in this American dream. Bloodlines strong like backstitches, legacy built on stovetop shrines, history made home and handmade quilts and childhood anecdotes. Resistance don't take no backseat, and we all don't look the same, so say my name right. Resilience is homemaking and trailblazing. But don't call me your poster child for problem solving. Your dreams so wet of multiple boxes to be checked. Your next victory at pin the tail on the race, your consolation prize when you say America would never. There's no time to play silent savior, nor model minority. For what is the price when assimilation was the name of the game? Citizenship seen as success. What do we unremember when language is lost before the young are born? When storytelling is our only way back home. Thank you. And so now it is my great, great honor to introduce our featured poet for this evening, Maud Alcorn. Maud is an author, spoken word artist, and event curator who hails from Oakland, California. Maud's writing focuses on her experiences as a Black, fat, queer woman navigating a world that hates all parts of her existence, and her refusal to be anything less than whole. By being both radically transparent and authentic, she has cultivated a lane all her own. Maud has been featured at events for UC Berkeley, the Oakland Peace Festival, and has facilitated workshops for Mills College, UC San Francisco, and The Wing. In 2018, she co-founded Gold Beams, an organization that curates and hosts eclectic events for Black creatives. The signature event, Second Mondays, showcases Black creatives of all mediums. Through her organization, Maud has had the opportunity to be deeper involved in various communities in her hometown. Maud is always working to build bridges and be community and continuously uses her talent as a resource to do so. So welcome, Maud. It's so wonderful to have you.
Black girl flesh. Flesh. The skin or surface of the human body with reference to its color, appearance, or sensual properties, flesh. The soft substance consisting of muscle and fat that is found between the skin and bones of an animal or human flesh. The human body and its physical needs and desires, especially as contrasted with the mind or the soul, flesh. The flesh of an animal regarded as food. Black girl flesh. Disregarded garbage to be burned, buried, or never seen again. Black girl flesh. Hot commodity only when detached from its original form and worn as costume. Black girl flesh. The first state of the Black woman before tropes become a noose around her neck. Black girl flesh. You tell yourself that we are not to ease your own conscience, but here we are still. Hello, everyone. I'm Maud Alcorn. I hope I didn't scare you coming through yelling like that. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Nia. As she mentioned, I am a spoken word artist. First and foremost, that's been my introduction to the world of poetry. And in July, I released my first book of poetry, quotes, and micro essays entitled The Black Girl Flesh. It's here right there. And I'm super excited to be able to read some pieces out of this. A little background to this book. Last year was a really, really crazy year for me, but it also was like such a journey of self-discovery. I was able to just kind of understand who I was without all of the things that people told me I was. So without having to exist as being strong or resilient or such like a fighter, without all those things, I kind of stripped myself down to really examine who I was just in this body with this soul in this flesh. So today I'm going to read a few pieces from here. They're not too long. I won't take up too much time, but I'm super excited to be here, and I'm going to get started with my first piece entitled The Courage to Stand Up Straight. I got 10 toes to stand on, A pair of lungs that breathe when they can, and two hands that like to hold on too long. I got a set of eyes that barely work and lips that hold on to each other tightly, and a heart that tries to see whatever they can't. I got a chest triple stacked up, hips heavily endowed, and a tongue so blessed it swims in holy water, so every word I speak is anointed. I got burn marks and cut marks, stretch marks and acne marks, name a mark and I got it. And those are just the ones you get to see on my skin. I wear them all like badges of honor. I keep them on display because to hide them would be to hide myself, and that I cannot do anymore. I got patience with myself and those who see light in me, with my body that's just learning about stillness and forgiveness and all about love without conditions. I have none for anyone telling me to wait for a moment like this ain't my moment, like I ain't earned it. See, my time slot on this earth was bought and paid for many moons before my flesh came into play. I got it all. A story worth telling, memories that stretch my mind to hold them. I could be a sob story. Damn it, I am a sob story. Just one that don't cry for nothing less than joy. I don't clap for nothing that turns me into fractions or divides my body into loved and unloved parts. Now I am whole or nothing. It is all of me or nothing. And never doubt my ability to be alone. So that's my first piece. Just roll on through. This is so different for me. I know we've been in the Zoom world for a while, but I'm still here like, I'm gonna just keep going, you know? So this is my second piece. It's entitled Living in the Belly of a Beast. I don't know where I come from. I imagine my birth being like the second Big Bang, and I am the proof that it happened. I am sound personified. Exactly what a whisper would sound like if it found out it was actually a scream. Just imagine how big it would stand if it knew it was a standing ovation. Begin again. This is all just speculation. See, I don't know where I come from. Let my bones tell it I'm the daughter of rage. Some days I can catch myself right before the implosion, but every so often the combustion is inevitable. I feel it run up and down my body until it collides with the bend of my knee or the crease of my elbow. But even when it ends, it never stops. I don't know where I come from. Is this all of me? Is the weight of my wholeness on this frame the entirety of me? Maybe one day I'll meet the version of me they keep waiting for, the one that lives up to expectations and carries the world with no complaints. Instead, I'm constantly crushed under the weight of my own mind, but maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to find a place to put it down and let it live alone. I don't know where I come from, and I probably never will. Maybe I'll tell my niece I came out the belly of a whale or was the animal Noah forgot. Maybe I'll skip over the years where life felt worthless and jump to my favorite love story, the one where I am lifted and loved back. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll spill the beans on me being as lost today as I was at 5 years old, so that she'll know she comes from a long line of self-discovery, and she'll take pride in being lost because we always seem to find our way back home. That's my second piece. And I'm gonna go slide on to my next one. A lot of this book kind of expresses just me, how I think of myself just as a person, like without all the other things, without having to swallow this or grit and bear this or that. So a lot of it talks about just myself and what it means to really discover myself inwardly and outwardly. And this next piece talks a lot about that. And it's entitled My Own Wonderland. I cut my own skin to bathe in the rivers of my blood, hoping to finally be fully submerged within myself for once. Instead of only feeling my skin through someone else's fingertips, I ran through my hair wildly. I felt and admired each coil and got lost in the complexities of my own kinks, but still felt found and grounded. I swam in the brown of my irises and stood starstruck of my own twinkle. I allowed myself to be the center of my own attention instead of begging to be seen. made hammocks of my earlobes for me to lay in, to exhale in, and to, for once, hear myself first. I swallowed myself whole and slid down my insides and was able to sunbathe in my own light. I didn't have to worry about outshining him. I placed 2 fingers in my sacred place, got on my knees and prayed to my own divinity. I thanked the God within me for me and my ability to see beauty in all the places I once tried to hide. I got to explore myself as an ecosystem. After spending a lifetime thinking I was just a pond, just a small collection of water in a world so much bigger than me, but I am a world of my own, and I love it here. So that's that piece. Thanks. This next one I wrote, this, oddly enough, Nia spoke on it earlier. I wrote this particular poem right after the execution of Nia Wilson. And I kind of just thought about what my body kind of is perceived as in the world and how I look at it differently, but doesn't really matter how anybody sees it because it is just what it is. So this one's entitled My Body Bag. I haphazardly throw my body around. I disregard that it knows pain. I've seen it turn colors right before my eyes, but to bruise means to feel, and numbness is more friend than foe now. It has its own mannerisms. It knows when to clench, how to contort itself into something a little less scary, less intimidating, more female, less woman, barely human. The only sign of life it is allowed is bated breath as it anxiously awaits its inevitable swallowing whole. My body knows how to be good. It bites inner cheeks when tongue begs to defend it because it knows meekness gives better odds for survival, but even silence can't save it. It is seen as a threat. People hear it screeching at all hours of the night, but my ears must have fallen deaf to it. As I sleep, it must grow 30 inches and crawl through sewers, linger just a little too long in doorways. It is always a menace to society. My body is not allowed to be soft in any context. Its exterior and interior are demanded to be rough, to be fixed with sharp edges, to gape instead of exhale. Through wounds is the only way it is permitted to be open. Through tears is the only way it can release. Pain is the only emotion it can exude on the regular that no one stands in protest of. My body is seen as excessive, as though it bore a shape before this one, like it broke a mold that it didn't know it was supposed to fit in. With infinite space, it still somehow is too much, bursting at the seams every chance it gets, because it knows boxes are too close to coffins and conforming is death of the spirit. But as long as it resists, it is not dead yet. That's that piece. I got 2 more, because I call myself keeping it short, but you know, we're just gonna rock out. It's cool, it's fine.
Maud, we're here for it.
So this next one is entitled I Could Have Been Ugly. Being a fat Black queer woman with a bald head that always dresses exactly how I feel is so intimidating to a lot of people. It's really scary. And I feel like people often wish that I would just fade into oblivion and just not have this much nerve or whatever. So this is kind of me thinking about, what if I did that? I could have been ugly. I could have listened to what they said beauty was, unwound my self-worth and put it in a box, packed away what made me me, hid behind non-existent waistline, praying to fit a mold, but instead I yelled at God. I remember when I prayed to be ugly, when I wished my body would disappear, although I was uncertain it existed, wished that the lust in their eyes was replaced by the disgust in their words and I could breathe again. I found myself folding into the roles of me, folding into the roles of she, but I yelled at God because even with doubt, I knew my life was more than what my body could endure. I begged for ugly. Like I begged for no, like I begged for mercy, like I begged and got nothing. I had to make a home out of emptiness. I had to love a body I tried to kill. Had to love a body that bruised like peaches, tore like paper, that never knew the purity of white. It always knew black as pain, as despair, as the never-ending story of begging for no. I remember embracing ugly. Touch of bald head and clothes that hid nothing, obtuse and obese, they were forced to see me. I swallowed their pride in mine and chose the revolutionary position of whole. Beautiful still has trouble rolling off my lips. It gets stuck somewhere between of course and as if, my lack of acknowledgement don't make it cease to exist. I could have been ugly. I should have been ugly. How much easier it would have been to hide in those moments sunlight felt like death, would have saved someone much time on my eulogy, because way less titles and hats to mention, because of way less nerve would have been way less me. Could have saved myself the pain of uncontorting my perception of self. It would have been easy. Oh, how easy fat Black girls seem to disappear. But instead, I talked to God, and they talked back and said, you are not shadow. You are, you are, you are. So that was that piece. Thanks, y'all. I'm so awkward. This is fun. Okay. So I have one last piece. I was debating about doing this piece because I'm like, oh, it's already kind of long, but I'm gonna do this one because it's like the one that I really love. It's so short and sweet, but I feel like this poem really is the embodiment of how I kind of feel at the end of the day. I feel like this book kind of goes through how I feel all the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm here. Like, can't nobody tell me nothing. But then a lot of times I'm just reminded through, you know, multiple foots on my neck that, yo, life is not here for you. It doesn't want you here, you know, exit promptly. And so I have to dig a little bit deeper to find a space and place where I just feel like, you know what, this is mine and it's for the taking, and who gonna tell me it's not? So the last one I'm gonna do is entitled The Audacity of This. ... I feel complete, comfortable in my own skin. I wake up and speak life into me. The sun kisses parts of me most will never truly know exist. See, I save a me from myself that only comes out when I lure it with joy. I am whole. They told me I shouldn't be. Black women barely free, and Black women like me ain't supposed to be next in line. Then here I come sauntering in with all of me out, and they don't know what to do with me. I am. The fullness of me, from the plump of my toes to the chunk around my knees, a fat Black woman with audacity. They always attempt to chop me down to size. They say I got too much of it, but I just come back time and time again like the root I am. You could never get rid of me. And that's me, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Again, I am Maud Alcorn. I'm gonna put my Instagram and all that good stuff in the chat, and I'm hang out with y'all for a little bit. Thank you, Nia and Moab, for having me. And it's always just such a joy to be able to share a little bit of me with everyone and hear everything that you guys present. So thank you guys for listening so much. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you for sharing your life.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Maud. It was absolutely wonderful getting to hear you, and I was reminiscing on our days when we could actually gather at like Red Bay Coffee for Second Mondays and how fun that has been. So thank you so much. And I'm glad, please put your stuff in the chat. I was just gonna ask you how folks can support. If you have any other upcoming virtual events, please let us know. Also, everyone should go buy Maud's book, which is available at Moad. I'm about to drop the link again in the chat, so please support. And let us know if there's other ways that we can support you too.
Yeah, no virtual events because I'm just like, you know, checked out here. But you guys can definitely follow me on Instagram, keep up with my website. Like I said, I'm the co-founder of an organization called Gold Beams, and we do a lot of wonderful things, and we do have some wonderful socially distant things coming up and some virtual offerings, from an art exhibit to us doing a brand new music series that's going to be really fun and exciting. So I'm going to drop the links to everything in there, and please stay connected. You can DM me, I DM back. You know, I'm nice, I'm approachable. So yeah, again, thank you everyone. You guys, seeing all your faces has been such a joy for me as well. So yeah.
Thank you. You brought so much joy to this space for us as well. So I appreciate that.
All joy all the time.
So with that, we're going to transition back into our open mic. We have a few more readers to go. So I'll post the second, actually, what I'll do is I'll post the second half of the lineup right now, just so folks who are in the second half have a heads up. And with that, I'll introduce Sarai Bordeaux up to the mic. Welcome, Sarai.
Thank you. And to Maud and Ali Rep before that, get them girls, like, and everybody already that has read, like, wow. Okay, this, what I wrote, came after reading Sylvia Wynter, and I just found out who Sylvia Wynter is, and as opposed to beating myself up about that, about why I've heard of her, like, kind of contemporaries like Foucault and like Franz Fanon, and I never heard of Sylvia Wynter. Like, I'm like, and I'm trying not to be mad about it, because like her writings came to me just at a particular time where I really need them. I'm trying to figure out how to read like stories online. So if anybody knows about like copyright laws or fair use like things, like hit me up, because I don't want to get sued or anything, but I do want to be like putting stories out there and all this different stuff. So this poem came after all those things in my head. It's called Fair Use. It's interesting to me that while some folks get a narrative that a too hard thing was a tough lesson or a sad day, other folks are pushed into a story of life, or too often death by chance, just by being born. We choose daily in the midst of this chance to sell our soul or to keep it, holding in dissonance or searching for words to explain what some are incapable of grasping, literally working to live at the whim of someone else's tears or foot or gun or war. Risk is a thrill to some, like the one could get from skydiving. For others, though, it is a calculation. Like how many nooses down these back roads still, or on these school grounds still? What will I have to deal with today still? I am an expansion of my grandmother's aching back. Her story, our stories are different. When we get home, our bodies, our voices take time to warm up. It's safe for us nowhere. In the headlines, the language will always give the hegemony away. The story is fucked up, still fucked up in the book they choose for the class to read. By the time the movie comes, we're so happy to see us on the big screen. We sit still for the reminder, the conversation still not had. This is the way they see our story, are able to ignore our stories. What they call fair use is normalized abuse. My every corner space has ached too in spans of forever. Being so familiar and yet not at all, with empty spaces in my story. The ones I would choose, like in nature or on shelves that have not found items yet, as well as the ones that have been created, like the ways our beloved have been made to fall, are taken, took too soon, leaving us living lost in this spiral, not knowing what it is we're gonna pass down. empty space like left by a scream or a cry or not often enough a belly laugh sticks to my story. Melting into the emptiness and getting to choose what's next in our story. Possibility and opportunity stolen from our stories, made so we could not call them our kin consistently. Manifest destiny doesn't sound like what it means at all in this story. Diversity and inclusion doesn't sound like what it means in this story. This is not a department thing. This cannot be separate from the larger story. Don't let gentrifiers of even revolution integrate into this system that refuses to get ready. Beware. Some things disappear when the funding does or when the trends do. This is a recurring part of our story. Anyway, as per usual, I'm confused. Who's to say what is fair use when the rules in this story are constantly changing? Targets moved, the meaning of eye contact, all the hoops to jump through, the sentencing of words and of our kin, the very idea of supremacy too. Just extra. The greatest exaggerator, prestidigitator in our story is whiteness. Deadly like overkill and white magic stealing from family lines in the night. In defiance, I'm wanting to exaggerate less in my story. No ha-has or LOLs, no sugar for your feelings in my story. No falling for the slide of hand. This will be hard to stop. I sometimes have a hard time trusting my story, believing in my story. I downplay the importance of my story, like we did not pay for or live through these stories, ancestors stealing away to the woods at night, some nights to read or tell our stories, other to leave and to change our stories, the sitting, learning from outside classrooms, principals' offices and pipelines, the stolen ideas, the inventions in our stories. I'm just trying to live in my press-ons, in my lashes, trying to kick it, trying to figure out the nuances, the complexities in our stories, read aloud examples of our stories. Dad, hello. Read aloud examples of our stories, of which there are many, but that's not what some would have us to believe about our stories. Those interested in our dependence would have us to stay in a box they have created for our story. Dad, could you close the door? Would have us to believe that ghettos are naturally occurring and that scarcity is just something we need to get used to in our story. In resistance, I am abundance in my story, abundantly working towards the destruction of what we have come to know in this story, because I am tired of this story, tired of switching to what is acceptable in the perpetuation of anti-Blackness, starting over all the time to fit in so as not to be killed. Some of us are killed in this story anyway. Most of us live in terror. All of us are impacted, our collective consciousness taught to both fear and defend whiteness, our spaces woven through with bloody drops in buckets, working whole careers, not sure what is actually happening, how our work will impact this story, digging through to an emptiness where second guesses do not exist in this story is a full-time job that the state would never pay. That this is not timesheet work or salary work, not the work they want us to be doing, not a blurb for a resume story. This work is danger to a certain story, our ancestors' story. Audre Lorde said, The master's tools will not dismantle the master's house. And since a chat I had a while back with myself in my thinking cap, I've been entrusted to know that people can be tools in this story too, in letting myself not be used, in understanding what is truly fair use. I become in my own way, out and around. I go through in this way. I am not a master's tool. This is my story. I don't need saving in it. Don't be fooled by this mess. I'm preparing for the next page to turn. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Shirai, for sharing and for your words and your storytelling. Wonderful, thank you. I'm always impressed by your writing. Really, every time it's a joy to hear. Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite Larry Moore. Welcome.
Peace, y'all. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Good. Hailing from Tucson by way of Des Moines, Iowa. Peace to y'all. I've been missing this poetry, man. So luckily, I'm in a group chat, and it got tossed in. So I appreciate being here. Peace to you. I am pure native in my middle, utterly lucid at the expression. It makes a spotted spectacle of my sun-baked heart, son of sun-baked ambition with visions of bloodlines drifting from the bank shores of Atlantic tidal wave. Ended up in a land that was not free for me, with a heart that had lost its ability to be brave after waterboarding my identity so that I could more readily identify myself as a slave, bound and senseless to a nexus of royalty and rows of chains. But I have scrubbed my soul to a failing to remember. I've shared the palpitation of my conscious breathing from my dreams. What's that? Poetry of the Euphrates pitched down the archipelago of my DNA configuration. What's that? No Rosetta Stone to divulge implication leaves blood cells dancing dainty excess of pirouette at metaphor junction to mic stand. What is this rising anticipation on an inheritance to knowledge? Pursued the perceived path of heritage, went on and took my black ass to college. But you see, from standing on top of this degree, sometimes it's hard to remember that slavery was never actually abolished, bruh. It was only repurposed, and I'm not trying to swing for trying to grow. Goddamn, I don't want to swing for trying to know, but I've got to satisfy this thirst. So how am I supposed to try and fly while continuously daydreaming about judicial branch swinging? Them trying to balance the scales of justice with my people's sacrificial bleeding. What's that? Lifelines rising and falling with dreams of succeeding. I know. Struggle hard, young man. Struggle long, black man. Because your heart was forged in the heart of the Congo long before they came looking for you. Brother, long before they came looking for you, you were free. And well, goddamn, free is what you deserve to be. What's that? That's us. What's that? You've always been the struggle. And I will hit one more. This joint is just a reminder that at the end of the day, regardless of the things that we are going through, we were made from the things of the universe, which simply makes us divine. If they are hearing this, well, you have already faded into the distance. What we have here is nothing more than your affirmation. In the beginning, there was a pervasion of the word, and you were implicit in the verb. A scribbled charcoal insurrection of God particle, upheaval of deity in miracle, meaning you have divinity affixed to your double helix. You are universe remixed to empirical flesh of stardust. You have diamonds in your vein. You're carbon atomic. A systematic catastrophe of a catalyst. You are black magic bottled on an easy rhetoric of daydreams. You are a jazz-themed corner of God's breast pocket. His heart crying. You are unfuckwitableness mixed with amazing. If they are hearing this, well, you've already faded away. Ashes to ashes, That dust to stars, you are solar flame. You are surface of sun, a revolution by definition every morning. And what we have here, well, it's nothing more than your affirmation.
Thank you so much for sharing both of those pieces. Brought a whole energy to the space, so thank you. Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite Norm Maddox. Welcome back, Norm.
Hi, good evening. It's great to see y'all. This is a wonderful curation that you got going on here. Thank you again for putting my name on the list. First piece is called An Equal Sign. Life is an algebraic expression looking for equilibrium. Variables and constants accounted for. Variables shift spontaneously beyond the speed of calculation. Constants shifting is where it gets tricky. What you said yesterday was your word, immutable, and yet attached to a thought, no longer the same. New additions multiplied since yesterday, attention divided by the past with an eye on the future. Now, the constant's constant. No need to seek out more unknowns in the multiple futures of paths walked between the waves, disappearing beneath the surf. The fullness of now has enough unknowns in the oncoming horizon. Observing with detachment lets the present unwrap until just before the moment of inertia, achieving an inevitable conclusion. Now, embedded in my DNA, interacting with detachment, participating in now without holding on to it. So much for equilibrium. The second piece is called A Mind in Touch with a Body. A body in touch with itself. A mind is not a body. A mind needs no body, needs no air, no blood, no feelings. A hand is a body until it is in touch with another hand that teaches it how to hold, that there is something to grasp, to caress, something to lift, something to pull, something to let go of. A foot is a body until it touches the ground, until it feels the weight of a body standing over it, until the ground with its gravity pushes against the foot, a call from the body to support it, finding balance in itself, flowing from heel to toes, in concert with falling, and the need for another foot, in contact with gravity, the ground, and a body. A heart is a body until it is filled with electricity, sparking across synapses, filling with blood and shock, mixing oxygen and food, energy to sustain a body in touch with itself. A heart is an empty sac until it becomes life in a body, in contact with another heart, in touch with another body, no longer an empty sac, contents pulsing to other parts of a body, now a heart longing for another heart to beat with. A mind is not a heart, never in a body. Peace.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Norm. That last piece, the repetition and the way it builds it upon itself. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's always a joy to hear you. So next up, I would like to invite Yusuf Salam. Welcome to the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Let me give it a chance. The first poem I'm going to read is inspired by ancient Egyptian love poem near 1300 BC before Christ. And it is called a love poem for my wife, Latifah. Your sunlight eyes lure my heart to drum festively. Enchanting face hued like the skins of ebony berries hugs me tender. Ah, your voice, a song that serenades the percussive pulses of my soul. And I, a man intoxicated with nibbling lips, marinated in paradise sweets, am here only to inhale your aura. This is another love poem for my wife. Who's there when my well runs dry? Ready with a bucket of love. I sip your smile like honey to water. You pour until I'm quenched. Who's there when my well runs dry? To massage me back from the brink. Your lyrical chats silence the stress. You hum the cadences of my heart. Who's there when my well runs dry? Where my soul weeps sullen seas. I grip the anchor in your eyes. You serve waves that surge and crush. Who's there when my well runs dry? When I'm wrong and curse I'm right. Hurl slurs that torment us. You with pungent paws to less our stress. Who's there when my well runs dry? Who holds my hand in holy hugs? Who makes me major when I'm feeling minor? You. And I have another one. This is called Showtime at Black Lives Matter Bureau. Skin dark and smooth like a straw of silk. Eyebrows purple springed and lips plastic pink. Short hair and long wig, brush back waist length ponytail. Buckets of paint, gloves and brooms cocked. Media cameras glimmer and balk. Police poses protect and serve. Aunt Jemima grin clowns her face. Showtime dance on the Black Lives Matter mural. Splatters paint and split potential. On her knees, rubs it in to check it out. Scrub like enslaved in Master's mansion. Mops toilets and wipes shitty asses of Miss Ann's babies. Polished silver that gleams in the midst of manifest destiny. Buff dishes that paint Africa savage. Blurred windows that witness bedroom crimes. Antebellum pride legs opening mulatto brood rebuffed wounds. White wipes, fork-tongued narrative of custom heroics. Kneels at the shrines of Confederate saviors. Launders who the dollar of the park. Name the memory of Martin Malcolm. Tars and feathers, Africans' breasts, burning off. Scratches to obliterate strange fruits. Sweeps under the rugs, ashes of rope burned necks and sliced off pieces. Screams wild as an Ivy Wells apparition stonks her spirit. Rubbing to sprinkle the Black Lives Matter mural. Washing it with skin like cream. Pouring lie to conquer nappy truths. To mass pain and betray her heart. And just one more piece. This is one called Somewhere Nowhere. Don't shop for a poem. There are no cage raised or certified organic inscriptions like on a carton of eggs. No owl to saunter and purchase a washing powder poem or a verse for dessert. A poem lights on your heart like a gentle breath of air. Don't get a park looking for a poem. Musing squirrels, hosted on hind legs, smiling at you in acorns. Yielding your ears to the ballads of birds, or oogling the grandeur of a giant oak. The most meditative poem alights on a mother as she feeds baby her breast. I saw a poem composed on a poet's spirit. Her eyes gaze blazed out to somewhere nowhere. A glorious twinkling of radiance explored triple darkness. A seed inseminated and a poem bloomed from the womb. I saw the poem resonate on her face. She stared out the window of a train bound for Vienna. A blurry of trees flashed, heads drooped and heads held high, logs locked in boxcars, shipped to somewhere nowhere. I heard her poem leap profusely. Railroad tracks of bodies nailed across the mud of the Atlantic, timber tossed into furnaces, fruitless evergreens and barbed wire forests, wood, iron, and steel battling in Gettysburg and Normandy. I tasted the sour salt of the woman's poem, the puke of obliged sterility. 1/8 of a cedar in a pine makes it a cedar. The lemon tree will defile the fig tree. I was there when the poem glowed in the poet, a North Star glint in her eyes from Bolivia across Canada border. Fugitives grinding onward under roofs and shadows of leaves, refusing to make lumber for plantation porches and dining tables. I was there when the poem lifted the poet to grayish blue skies of confusion and clarity, a sacred and scared hallucinatory vision out there, somewhere, nowhere. And I'm finished.
Great. Thank you so much, Yusuf, for sharing those pieces. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite the wonderful Tarita McKell. Welcome, Tarita.
Thank you, and thanks everyone. Oh my Lord, I got to the second half, but these events, Nia, you guys put on, it's always healing. And yes, Sarai, my love, my daughter. Yes, I'm so glad you made this your second home. Okay, I am going to do a song and then a poem. I timed it, so get it in. This is my stint as a lab tech in a psychiatric institution. I saw him under a street light on MacArthur Boulevard one night. His eyes were fixed on a sight I couldn't see, yet he seemed to be free. His eyes were so bright, so full of light, head held high. What was he looking at in the sky? Face brown and smooth, could not give a clue about all the truth he could see. But I felt in my heart, if he were in the land origin of his art, he'd be a pre-seer of a very special family tree. Well, his eyes were so bright, so full of light, head held high. What was he looking at in the sky? Being a lab tech, people were subject to have their blood drawn by me. Every morning I go down to make my rounds for the agreed upon salary. Well, doctors made the conclusions, patients suffered from delusions, but with that, I wasn't totally satisfied. 'Cause a light psychic soul vibes more than 1 trillion points of light. But to prove it to them as a Black woman was a useless fight. And there he was, this brown-skinned dove, still looking with eyes so bright. And there I was with Accutane, a rubber tying glove, about to draw out a piece of his life. When suddenly he looked at me and said, "You won't find it there." So that was the end of the song. And that happened, I mean, he's like, I knew that, but getting a job done. And then the second piece, on the strength. On the strength, you will not dismiss us. As you did the Hawaiian trying to erase their dark, illustrious past. As you did the Australian as an osteo Bone people whom you renamed Aborigine, an unconscious spell placed into the mind to slowly grind away a human species. You will not dismiss us. As you did the American Indian after you stole their land, prayer belts, and totems in exchange for pipes, running water, and whiskey, electricity on reservations, slowly burning away generations of nations. You will not dismiss us, for we are from Black earth, Black jeweled midnights, Black melanin carbon coil, soil, royal, holding fire, blue, black, indigo, ink that synced into papyrus, in star time doing light rhymes for time in your face, and you will not dismiss us. Yes, we trusted in you, integrated with you, as we allowed you to grade away our home, schools, families, lives, and values. But as Black coals, we held light, we hold light in spite of you, and oh, but hell no, you will not dismiss us. For as Black as your blackest midnight, holding billions upon billions of stars from on high, you will not dismiss the wonder of us. We are from your richest Black soil, Black liquid gold oil. We are blue, black, melanin, indigo ink that synced into papyrus in star time, doing light rhymes for time in your face, and you will not dismiss us, as you do when you walk down the street with a senseless deceit like you can't see me. You will not dismiss us. We are Black oceans of star soul of power, Black earth holding light of Black desire, bone chisel stone dating star time doing light rhymes for time in your face, and you will not dismiss us. See stars, watch stars held in melatonins of midnight singing tones, Black made bone in creation, life's home majestic manifestation. You will not dismiss the sight of this creation held in blue, black coals, blue, black indigo, African, Asian, Indian, Akabulan ink, so succinct in star time. The mythos of our light rhyme will forever burn a mystery into your mind, and we are here to do time in your face. We are here for time in your face. We are the keepers of time, the starlight primal mythos of rhythm, rhyme, and definitely not out of sight or mind, and you will not dismiss us. I heard what you said, but you will not dismiss us. We do not worship our captor's God.
Wow. Thank you, Tarita. Thank you so much. I feel like we're always in sync with our poetry, like that indigo piece called back so much imagery. So thank you.
Thank you, Nia. We appreciate, this is a healing for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and healing with us. So we have two more readers to close out this evening. I'd like to invite up a dear friend, Isabel Kuh-Miller. Welcome, Isabel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your energy, your words, your song. I have a shorter piece for tonight. Another basement corner decorated by a child had chosen to forsake opinions and pedophiles and instead breathe fourth-generation life into the womb of a 12-year-old. The ground's eyes twinkled. The ground's eyes looked every way it could, including liquor store and furnace, including the souls of prostitutes, even including long bus rides after curfew. Thanks.
Thank you, Isabel. Welcome back to the Bay as well. All right, so to close us out this evening, I'd like to invite Kay Altine, calling in from Granada, Spain, to close out the open mic this evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nia, and peace and blessings to all of you here tonight. It was a really amazing experience to hear that beautiful song and all of the other pieces that were really moving and touching. I'm going to be reading two poems. One is from the beginning of my book. My book will come out, hopefully, despite COVID, in the spring, and it's called The Moral Judgment of Butterflies, and it's coming out from Eyewear Press in the UK. The first poem I'm going to be reading is called Here, and it stands for How Everyone Remembers Everything. And the second poem is a bit longer, but it's called Butterflies, and it's the last poem in the book. So I'll start with Here. This is the account of a broken boy who took down the sky to weave a map for all the children on their way here. How do I have my Turkish mother's eyes that aren't blue like Nasari beads, but the color of my father's skin when it has forgotten the sun because of winter? Family snapshot, the whole lot of us rubbing sesame oil into our skin to keep out the cold and all that gold we carried. I'm broken, and all you ask is how. How did it happen? How can you be sure? How long will it take? I count bubbles in your fizzy water, make something up. I sigh and I hear 1,000 legs cross. I blink and imaginary hair parts me. Everyone getting by is surviving something seasonal. It's out of stock before you break each other for some mess that won't ever hold you both. I'm so sorry about so many things I can't ever be again. It doesn't stop me from looking under the bed some nights for change. It doesn't stop me from polishing the mirror until I sigh again, and armies march through the flat like it's over. Your tongue is now that kilim, draped from the balcony for wandering cats. It still remembers when it lived inside and how we whispered Hafiz verses to it. Everything I bought for that next life is on sale, but I still don't fit. And that's the first piece. And this is the last piece that I end my book with. It's kind of long, but I'll try to read through it. It's called Butterflies. I'm sitting in a bar somewhere with a few friends and people I've just met. Their eyes are glittering with laughter after I tell them about growing up with a dad with a public and private English accent, about how at work in his crisp white doctor's coat he spoke in a kind and friendly all-American way, how everyone loves him for his easygoing conversations and humor, his agility with learning languages like Urdu and Tagalog from staff that disappeared as soon as he got home. At home, Sudan TV is blaring in the background with people dancing around whatever really needs to be said, because people are way too polite to each other for no damn reason. I do not mention to anyone afterwards that I've been living in exile since I was 8. I excuse myself to the restroom, and as I'm washing my hands and looking at my reflection, I hear my father's private Arab English sputtering from the faucet, hissing, "You think they will clap for you?" I order a new drink and decide to sit back and listen in case his voice returns to chase me home. For Mother's Day, our teacher asked us to write poems to read on stage for them after they had dinner. It took the effort of 4 other classmates and me to push the velvet curtain far enough to one side to get a peeking view of all the tables set up in our middle school gym. Piled against each other, we took turns pointing out our moms. When I found mine, dressed in a colorful traditional tobe, they all asked me if I was adopted, and I started to cry and refused to read my poem. She came backstage and shook me by the shoulders, straightening my shirt, and warned me in a few languages my teacher couldn't understand, not to embarrass myself, and that everyone would be watching. So I got on stage and read my poem to someone make-believe in the crowd. It's summer, and I'm at a friend's house drinking horchata. This creamy tiger nut milk concoction that makes me ramble and nostalgic. My friend's mom asked to see photos of my family, and I show her pictures of my parents in the early 70s before they met each other, before any of us existed. She marvels at how stunning they were in their youth. Then I show her pictures of my siblings. Only I know that every photo is at least a decade old, that we are all now very different people, but that I was the first to leave. You must miss them, she says. I say, of course, out loud in Spanish, por supuesto. Hear them arguing all at once in my mind, as I tuck them back into a folded pocket in my wallet, repeating to myself, taban, física, tabiki, pienso, certo. Of course, we miss what we choose to remember. At the airport, I'm interrogated by 3 men. One asks in broken English how long I've been here. The other scans my passport and stares me down. The third is having lunch and typing some kind of report. I'm imagining the measurements being taken in a separate room with all this information. Wait for a sheet of double glazed shatterproof glass, 178 centimeter fitted stainless steel frame to arrive through the door. Wait for him to stop talking, for that pin to trap me forever in one place. I have waited my entire life to come out of this, my entire life to fly away. Thank you. Thank you so much for the space.
Oh, thank you. You really, I feel transported with your poetry. That was absolutely beautiful. So thank you for taking us home with your poetry. And so with that, I would like to thank everyone for sharing in this space this evening. It's been so beautiful to hear everyone's range of poetry and song and storytelling. So I encourage everyone to continue attending MOAD's programs. This is only one of many that we do. The next open mic will be happening 2 weeks from now on October, oh wait, no, it's not October yet, sorry, September 24th, getting ahead of myself. September 24th will be our next open mic, and our feature will be Avacha, who is frequently sharing in this space with us. So we're very excited for that. Elizabeth also just put in the chat a program survey, so I encourage all of you to please just take a few minutes to fill this out. All the feedback from our programs is extremely helpful for us at MOAD to continue creating events and supporting our community. So we appreciate that. And if you are able to financially support the museum as well, that is extremely helpful. And so Elizabeth also shared information about donating. So you can either donate through our website, which is moadsf.org, or through your phone by texting 56512 and typing MOAD-SF. You can also take a photo of the little QR code there, and that will open up the window as well. So again, thank you for your support. Thank you for your presence and participation. And I really hope that everyone continues to attend, to support, and also stay safe in these times. And thank you again, Maud, for really holding us down with your feature today. It was absolutely wonderful having you in this space. And so I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening. You're welcome to unmute yourselves on your way out. And thank you.